There's exactly one great thing about The Last Jedi.
Every word of what you just said was wrong.
But it took me a long time to recognize it. That initial disappointment was too raw. I remember slowly walking out of the theater, head down, shell-shocked, a small pit growing rapidly in my gut. It was fine, I told my wife. But I think I knew, even then, that Star Wars was dying. Maybe it was already dead. For the first time, I didn't go back to watch it again. The story was a mess. The humor felt forced. The plot holes were immense. It ended in basically the same place that it started. But mostly, I was trying not to think about it. But one thing has stuck with me through all the criticism and controversy and debate over the years. There's a good story buried within this mess of a movie. It's not the one I wanted or expected, and maybe you felt the same way. But give me a few minutes to explain, and you might come to agree that the best part of The Last Jedi is the one you hated the most. The story of Luke Skywalker.
I want every gun we have to fire on that man.
I know, put down your pitchfork and hear me out. The thing that feels so wrong about Luke's story in The Last Jedi is that it doesn't feel true to his character in past movies. He believed in his father's goodness and wouldn't kill him despite all the evidence and advice to the contrary. All three original movies were set up to convince us that he is evil beyond redemption. He kills, tortures, threatens, and lies to get what he's after, blowing up an entire planet just to send a message. Obi-Wan, Yoda, the Emperor, and Vader himself all tell us repeatedly that no one can return from the dark side.
You don't know the power of the dark side.
Luke believes otherwise, and he's right.
Tell your sister you were right.
And yet, the moment he has a premonition about his nephew Ben, he considers killing him in his sleep like he's in the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. Not my Luke Skywalker. My Luke Skywalker trusts in the Force and in the ability of good to overcome evil. The Last Jedi even acknowledges this. Rey says it out loud.
Yes, the most hated man in the galaxy, but you saw there was conflict inside him. You believed that he wasn't gone, that he could be turned.
Now, Luke's human, of course, so it's conceivable that he'd have a moment of weakness or doubt like this. But as a character in an ongoing story, it essentially reverses his arc from the original trilogy, which is not typically how stories are supposed to work. And it's not what anyone wanted to see. If you hate it, I don't blame you. But I can't fully blame Rian Johnson either. JJ Abrams clearly set this up in The Force Awakens and left Rian to deal with it. The real problem is that the sequels never had any intention of continuing the story of the originals. Instead, they tried to reboot them. So you have to see the sequels as a soft remake, like a multiverse variant of the original timeline, a sort of endless cycle the universe can't escape. I know this may sound crazy, but once you realize that this isn't the story of the Luke Skywalker you remember, you can start appreciating it for what it is. The story of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Hello there.
See if this sounds familiar. A righteous Jedi loses his powerful Padawan to the dark side, and then spends years in exile regretting his arrogance and lack of foresight, while the apprentice helps build an evil galactic empire, before eventually confronting the former Padawan and sacrificing himself to let the next generation of Jedi and rebels redeem his apprentice and defeat the Emperor. Still don't believe me the sequels are actually remakes? Welcome to the multiverse.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
The original Obi-Wan story is fundamentally about regret and responsibility. He's the mentor figure in the hero's journey, a former hero who failed himself, and so can only hope to pass on his knowledge to another hero who might succeed. Haunted by his failures, racked by guilt as one of the last survivors, he bears the weight of the entire Jedi Order on his shoulders. And he can do nothing but hide and wait as he sees darkness consume the galaxy. He must feel that both he and the Jedi deserve this to some extent because of their arrogance, their blindness. They didn't see or react quickly enough to the darkness growing amongst them, and Obi-Wan was the closest to it of all. It was his responsibility to train Anakin as a Jedi and a man, and he failed.
I thought that I could instruct him just as well as Yoda. I was wrong.
The entire galaxy suffered because of it, including all his friends and a Jedi Order that has stood for 1,000 generations. Whether that's fair or not, Obi-Wan believes it. That's enough to crush any man, especially one living alone in exile. But crucially, he does have a hope. He has a purpose. He's watching over Luke Skywalker, the son of the apprentice he failed, who just might save his legacy and the galaxy. That keeps him going during all those dark years. Where would he be if he didn't have that one hope to live for? Well, he'd probably be like the old Luke Skywalker.
Go away!
Luke in the sequels also has a student he cares about turn on him, ironically one named after Obi-Wan.
Ben!
Luke also sees his new Jedi Order fail and his apprentice lead the galaxy into war. Luke also blames himself and goes into self-imposed exile. He believes he was arrogant, thinking he was capable of restoring the Jedi because he was the hero, the legend, Luke Skywalker.
In my hubris, I thought I could train him. I could pass on my strengths.
He identifies this as the pattern of the Jedi, pride leading to overreach, leading to destruction. And he's right. That's the story of the prequels.
At the height of their powers, they allowed Darth Sidious to rise, create the Empire, and wipe them out.
The movie knows it's replaying this script, but unlike Obi-Wan, Luke doesn't have any hope. There's no new chosen one to watch over and protect, no heir to the Jedi destined to come of age and vanquish the dark side. He was that person, and in the end, he failed too. In his lifetime, the Jedi have only ever brought suffering to the galaxy.
The legacy of the Jedi is failure.
So what else can he conclude except that the Force is too powerful to be trusted to anyone? The temptation is too great. Someone always falls. Darkness will always be threatening to return. So long as there are Jedi, there will be Sith, waging perpetual war over the galaxy. Facing such calculus, there's really only one answer.
It's time for the Jedi to end.
You can imagine this might be how Obi-Wan felt in the early days of his exile, while he's still coming to grips with what happened and what he must do. Self-recrimination, anger, and regret are natural responses to tragedy, even when it isn't actually our fault. And those thoughts only compound over time if not given an outlet. I'd be bitter too in his circumstances. It would have been interesting to see the Kenobi show explore his relationship with Luke and develop it into something that would eventually be able to save his own soul. But alas, we got a buddy adventure with Leia and a robotic ladybug, so I guess we'll just have to imagine the development. What changes everything for Luke, though, is the same thing that ultimately changed Obi-Wan. Rey, a bit of hope in the future, shows up out of nowhere. Don't think about who she is, or how she got there, or what she does in the future. It will only make you angry. The important thing for this story is that it's exactly what Luke needs. She steps into his world and forces him to reckon with the wider universe and his own youthful journey with an aging mentor.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
Like Obi-Wan, he must accept that his failures don't define him any more than his victories do, and that the universe doesn't stop when he leaves it, so his obligation to it can't stop either. It's not all about him. The Force is bigger than that. Naturally, Yoda steps in to connect the pieces. Luke is too narrow-minded, too brash, too impatient, as always. The Jedi can be destroyed, along with all their sacred texts, but you can't destroy the Force. You can't get rid of goodness, nor evil for that matter. You can burn down every tradition, exile every Jedi, but you still have Rey, you still have Kylo, you still have Luke, young and old, or this kid, whatever happened to him. Good people must still fight for what is right with what power they have. They must pass on what they have learned to the next generation, hoping that they will also use their power wisely. It's a risk, of course, no way around it. But as Yoda reminds him, failure is its own kind of lesson.
The greatest teacher, failure is.
It's a lesson Luke first learned way back in The Empire Strikes Back, among the snowfields of Hoth and the swamps of Dagobah and the clouds of Bespin. Power requires humility, won through hard defeat.
If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Obi-Wan waits for 20 long, lonely, bitter years before he has the chance to correct his mistakes. But when the time comes, he knows what he must do. He willingly confronts his failures, not to defeat it himself, but to be defeated by it. Obi-Wan willingly sacrifices himself so that Luke can succeed, and now Luke does the same. Both become one with the Force. Both pass on a legacy they thought destroyed, the legacy of the Jedi. A legacy more powerful than you could possibly imagine.